So this is the masthead of William Lloyd Garrison's original abolitionist newspaper, but it's colorized because it's the Liberator dot today. I'm taping this in the week following the latest school shooting in Parkland, Florida. It's been a week of national hopelessness. Hopeless that this gun violence in the U.S. will ever end. Hopeless that Congress and the Republican Party will ever act on it. Hopeless that the phrase thoughts and prayers will ever be redeemed. Hopeless that the power of the NRA will ever be broken. It's more urgent than ever that we all become experts in biblical hope. And so we press on. When Sarah Palin stepped up to the mic at the National Tea Party Convention in Nashville in 2010, she reserved her biggest mockery of President Obama for one single folksy line. The crowd howled and cheered, Palin basked. Eventually you could buy a bumper sticker with her picture on it and the saying, "How's all that hopey-changey stuff working out for you?" This incident tells me three things. Number one, that hope is a function of leadership, that it was appropriate for Obama to exert it. Lutheran theologian Walter Brueggemann calls these leaders history makers. They make history happen. They don't simply endure it, nor are they crushed by it. Number two, that hope is a threat to the established order and will likely be mocked at some point. And number three, our definition of hope is fuzzy. So fuzzy it lends itself to such constructions as hopey stuff. Surely we can do better than that. My name is Lowell Bliss. Welcome to episode 6 of the Liberator Today's video series on hope. Hope deserves a robust definition, and we're going to look to Brueggemann to supply one. Of course, we could go the Merriam-Webster route. The dictionary defines hope as to desire with expectation of obtainment or fulfillment, to expect with confidence. The editors of the Dictionary of Bible Themes, which includes such luminaries as J.I. Packer and Alistair McGrath, would agree that that is fine enough. Hope in its general sense, they say, is the anticipation of a future outcome. It is a subjective expectation which may be either firmly based or misdirected. But when you add God into the equation, things change. Hope in God, the editors say, is a total grounding of one's confidence and expectation in God's goodness and providential care, even in the face of trouble. In many ways, Brueggemann takes that definition and then more fully grounds it in a context and more specifically describes how God's goodness and providential care reveal themselves. The book is Hope Within History. The chapter is entitled, Blessed Are the History Makers. Brueggemann offers a list of 5 characteristics, which according to his study of the Old Testament prophet Jeremiah, make up a paradigm for history makers. His definition of hope is in the final item, but the first 4 items set the context of a world in trouble, of a leader who opens him or herself up to feeling it personally, and of a confidence which is in many ways external. In other words, the person who hopes need not be an internal optimist. Brueggemann writes, "In sum, I propose that Jeremiah provides a paradigm for history makers around these 5 items. Number 1, a profound sense of anguish, pathos, and incongruity that touches him personally. Number 2, confidence in the moral coherence of the world." We're just reading through these items in order to get to the last one. Number 3 is assertion of the raw sovereignty of God in the historical process. Number 4, capacity for discerning social analysis and criticism. And number 5, bold conviction about an alternative possibility that goes under the name of hope. There's Brueggemann's definition of hope. Hope is a bold conviction about an alternative possibility. He writes, quote, While such history makers may see clearly that things are deeply wrong, they are characteristically not voices of despair. History makers in historical action do not proceed out of despair, but out of hope that acts against the data at hand. It is astonishing that Jeremiah can assert in so many ways that the sure end, exile, is coming upon Judah, temple, and kingship, and yet can find ways to articulate a future precisely out of that failure. This way of speaking is not simply pastoral consolation offered to exiles, though it is that. It is not simply social analysis, though that is involved. Rather, it is a sense that the failure of the order is not equivalent, nor conterminal with the defeat of God. God's purpose abides in the midst of historical chaos and will finally work through the chaos to create a fresh social possibility. We will devote multiple episodes of this series to working chapter by chapter through Walter Brueggemann's seminal book, The Prophetic Imagination. So there's a lot of Brueggemann and Jeremiah in our future. This week, however, we simply wanted to catch the definition of hope. It's all about fresh alternative possibilities to our current situation. This is not the end of our story. This is not the way it will always be. These are not the only options available to us. We can be convinced of that. We can be bold about our convictions. Next week, we'll see what happens when we mash these two theological definitions together, Brueggemann's and the one from the Dictionary of Bible Themes. We also consider the future aspect of hope in our definition. I am Lowell Bliss, Christian environmental missionary and climate activist. Thank you for visiting the Liberator today.